the first to know. Nsem-Pii TV.
The Bank of Liberia. In fact, Okudzeto Ablakwa animu asisi poto. They've called him an untruthful fellow in their latest release on a supposed expose. Yeah, Okudzeto Ablakwa ekotran. As you just said, we that oye expose bia no a wan kotran the Facebook wall no akotran the X handle no atwetwere di opa na nam say Ghana for do na ntumi nya botren kenkan ti ni ye follow the bandwagon deep trust a chire na enim aguase poto ebi ane se na enim aguase poto now enra na Okudzeto Ablakwa ekotran the X handle ekotwetwere nsem bi say well, who say ya transfer an amount of $20 million US cash via the Kotoka International Airport, cleared by Ghana Revenue Authority officials into the Bank of Ghana. Now, Bank of Ghana for issue statement is scan and Ghana there. Scano is from the Bank of Liberia. Na idea omo eye since 2012 ya omo tie transfer sika de beto Bank of Ghana for safekeeping because omo nye omo man no enisa te bre bi duru na omo hia na omo asa ba beden asa be tebiri omo sika e de call back to Liberia na djumadi ese so omo didie omo diakodi, and this has been going on according to documentation since 2012. Ya omo freno an international safekeeping transaction between the government of Ghana and the government of Liberia, and then the Bank of Liberia, the Central Bank of Liberia, and the Central Bank of Ghana, which is the Bank of Ghana. Intinya nasa. Enti according to Okudzeto Ablakwa, on the 21st of August, and our no Okudzeto Ablakwa, any international partners, tracking an airline, a landing the Kotoka International Airport. Now, in that airline, on board, now a whooping sum of $20 million cash. Yeah, according to Okudzeto Ablakwa, the plane flew from London with fresh dollars banknote into Ghana. And no matter this Ghana, Bank of Ghana. And Okudzeto Ablakwa na sa ko say, okura 2 documents. One document from the Bank of Ghana, one document from the Central Bank of Liberia. The document from the Central Bank of Liberia is indicating, say, it is as a result of that transaction existing between Ghana and Liberia since 2012, and Omodi says, Kaiba, the Bank of Ghana, MFNC, your friend is safekeeping. The Benu do no be here, or Maba Jomadi. Okudzeto Ablakwa Yansa can say, and Krata was saying, Yadia free, the Bank of Ghana and also. Contradicted the Bank of Liberia enti or suspected say a Bank of Ghana and akwa kutwa these dollar no special me be good system name just to curb the high rising dollar to CD a year air koso ya just say the dollar to CD nam 16 cedis into na Bank of Ghana for share that boapa akoye sa de no mo de share the Bank of Liberia into no or no any international partners keep put track on how the $20 million will be transferred to the Central Bank of Liberia and other documents attached. Or and at the Central Bank of Liberia, the Bank of Liberia governor George Intridi Edekrata ababeto jase ensem Okudzeto Ablakwa ekotran X handle ekekanyina enukrebiani outright lies. Now the Central Bank of Liberia explained that the money was transferred to Ghana Central Bank as part of an existing arrangement since 2012 for the Bank of Ghana to provide overnight custody of its cash import. And according to the Central Bank of Liberia, that arrangement it is existing since 2012. The people say, why na ye man penyini 2012? The late Professor J.E. Amos, this NDC administration, former President John Dramani Mahama ebe inherited from 2012 saa kakaka edibesi say 2016. Now this arrangement was now the Central Bank of Liberia edisika ba for overnight custody and safekeeping. Okudzeto ablakwa you were there. Now we ti ene de just a see in a different government inti. We didn't kuta for utri ho ekeka de ope. Now want to also say the importation of United States dollars is part of the bank's normal function due to that existing arrangement, which is required to meet the needs of the economy, including the USD withdrawal demands and needs of the government of Liberia and the commercial banks. Central Bank of Liberia and the Bank of Ghana have this long-standing cash custody agreement executed for the Bank of Ghana to provide overnight custody for Central Bank of Liberia imported cash when shipped from London by Travelex Currency, which is an international currency shipment company. Part of the statement reads, it added, these cash shipments by flight are cleared through both the Ghana and Liberia customs, thus validating their legitimate sources. The Central Bank of Liberia once again emphasizes its commitment to transparency, accountability, and encourages the media to always reach out to the various banks to verify any information about the bank's operation before spewing out lies and untruthful statements out there. The truth is, this transaction and arrangement has existed since 2012. Signed the governor, Central Bank of Liberia. To ano de say yanki ka maitrim mom kwa yanki ka maitrim. Enti when krata e free the Central Bank of Liberia, giving clarity to the sum of $20 million cash that was flown in from London into this country. Yeah, Central Bank of Liberia de krata ba se eyo mo akasa dia. Na saa enhyehyeye ene nkitahudie eye 2012 to ene wo. Ya omo aye brebi dura, omo import cash inflows no, omo de bre Bank of Ghana, ma Bank of Ghana edi siema wo. Na ebrebi duru no be hia se ska no de edi dwuma bia. Omo assign aye form Bank of Ghana, ama Bank of Ghana assign apie omo sika de ama wo. Enti sika yi enye Bank of Ghana sika, the Central Bank of Liberia sika, omo tie because of this existing arrangement. The arrangement was actually done between former President John Dramani Mahama then and the then Liberian president. Ya say akoso sa ye ma me Salif Johnson. Ya akoso sa edi ababesinde. Ti eden ene na edi Okudzeto ablakwa no person play mischief with an arrangement that has existed when your government was in power, when you were a minister of state then, and you knew that this arrangement existed. Ye need your person of faso edi propaganda edi tia this Nsem-Pii government because the exchange rate is moving higher. Ti be beka fa hu bia. Some gullible Ghanaians who find it difficult to read between the lines will just swallow it hook, line, and sinker. Take kudos to the government of Liberia for setting the records straight. Now,
about your earlier post this afternoon on social media about this $20 million in cash in terms of the transfer through Kotoka International Airport. You had cause to raise concerns about the BOG and some concerns about consignee, amongst others. We are getting statements tonight from the Bank of Ghana as well as the Central Bank of Liberia. Both statements seek to clarify that there's a long-standing cash custody agreement where the BOG provides overnight custody for CBL when shipped from London by Travelex complex currency. They also go on to mention, at least from the BOG's part, that relevant stakeholders are officially informed about this. You must be a relevant stakeholder. Are you not aware about this particular arrangement? They detect mischief actually in the publication.
So, to answer your question directly, I'm not one of the stakeholders that these letters were copied to. And you can check with Parliament and with MPs. We have not been copied these letters. Now, it is important to state that the concerns raised had to do with the way and manner this particular transaction was carried out. Insiders were concerned about the inconsistency with the supporting documents. And if you pay regard to the way bill that I published from my unimpeachable sources, you see the discrepancy. The way bill and other supporting documents did not align with the August 21, 2024 letter from the BOG. And that is why I raised questions. I indicated that I was tracking. Note that I didn't pass any conclusive judgment. I said that I was tracking, I was monitoring. Indeed, the figure that I put out, initially there were attempts to question that figure. I saw the President's Council write on social media that how do I know about the amount. Now the Central Bank of Liberia has confirmed that indeed my figure was accurate. The $20 million I put out is accurate. And now that we have these clarifications, because I did indicate that we are monitoring, we are going to make sure that there are no diversions. And it's part of our work as members of Parliament to carry out oversight, to let all institutions know that we are on top of our job, we are watching, we are keenly monitoring, and we are carrying out oversight. So.
Well, a few questions, key questions, Mr. Ablakwa. You are a member of Parliament, long-standing also a committee member of the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament. If you were actually seeking clarity on this when you got this information, considering that Liberia and other countries involved, was social media the way to go to be able to get that clarity you're looking for?
Definitely. Social media is a very key medium. Just like traditional media, you want everybody who is part of this to know that there is a monitoring process and that members of Parliament are carrying out their oversight and they are watching. It's exactly the objective you want to achieve by using social media, and that is why I did what I did. And I always put out the relevant documentation, so nobody can say that this was just a figment of my imagination or I was concocting. I mean, here we are. We have a confirmation of the figure. We have certain clarifications that are coming up, and it's all good. It's all well and good, and we'll continue to monitor. We'll continue to carry out our oversight.
It's not about the issue of concocting per se is the concern. The issue about putting out flight details, considering that it involves another country, Liberia, also Ghana, and the fact that it raises national security concerns is the concern.
These flight details were not put out by me. They put out those details in their documents. In my write-up, I didn't put out any flight details. And there have been no flight details on the re-exportation as and when that re-exportation will be carried out. We are carrying out our mandate. It's pure oversight, and I do not see the national security breach in this matter.
But this document you talk about, Mr. Ablakwa, was not put out by the BOG in the public domain. You actually did.
And so? So how does that constitute a breach of national security?
I mean, considering that there's $20 million involved here that needs to be transferred to another country, there are serious security concerns in the transfer of that particular amount. The BOG in this statement talks about the sensitivity of this, considering that you have another country's currency in Ghana's custody.
So we are suggesting that we don't have money in Ghana. The BOG doesn't keep money. I really don't get all of this red herring, and how does that compromise? Are we saying that we should not pursue transparency? We should not hold institutions accountable, particularly when we have serious concerns, when documentations are not aligning, when current documentations differ from previous.
But is social media the tool to use to hold the BOG accountable, considering the sensitive nature of the matter we're talking about?
I do not. These are matters of opinion. I do not share those opinions, and I do not see any breach in national security. I don't see. I mean, how has this publication jeopardized? Have the funds been lost? I mean, I really don't get these bizarre claims of national security. Look, everybody will have to be accountable, and as public officials, we are not above scrutiny. We are not above transparent mechanisms to ensure that we are accountable when there are serious matters of concern.
We get the accountability part you talk about, but considering the fact that the arrangement or the agreement between the two countries is an overnight custody and they will have to ship the money back maybe tomorrow, and we've put out flight details and all the details about it, you say it doesn't jeopardize it at all. In hindsight, do you think that this is the way you should have gone?
It appears to me you have not read the publication, the documents. Those flight details out there are flight details of a flight that has already arrived. Nobody has put out flight details of an outstanding flight, of a re-exportation that will or may occur. Nobody has done that. So I don't see the red herring here. Look, at the end of the day, in an era where we are having increased cases of money laundering, increased cases of terrorist financing, talk to the National Security Minister. These are matters that have been presented to us in Parliament. We all must be on the alert. We all must be concerned. And we are carrying out our mandate, our constitutional mandate of oversight. That is exactly what we are doing. We haven't put out any flight details of a future flight or an imminent flight. Nothing has been done. And indeed, I made sure that these matters had been concluded, they had cleared the funds, and they were not in transit when I raised the legitimate questions which I raised.
So the explanation that both central banks have given so far to the concerns that you raised, the questions that you raised, does it suffice?
It will appear satisfactory at this point, but we will keep monitoring. We have systems in place to.
Yeah, 200,000 Ghana cedis. So 200,000 Ghana cedis. There be 20,000. 20,000 Ghana cedis. Budget 200 million. Me. 200 million. Hey. And you call me baby. There be a nipa wa kopen the but you see, sometimes me one kind I told myself that men glorify ubi ignorance and they ubi timupa wabose opese oyeni bibi. I won't glorify that. What you say? Yet here ask tell me why na ya show whether government whether ubi cry na dey say brabe cover my story mamia obe kon kan just TNT. Oh ask say hey any mo free obi free you see omo ade we omo cover all the regions all the regions and this obi free ho ba na man say be 5,000 na fafa ka ko we say o see ya gambo obi am obi 20,000. I mean whereas you know the whole kind and tro the whole TF videos are all kind and tro. But because bia abine you know penasem only no problem enti obeka manako kan journalist eti ho nyina nyansanim time NDC for ye omo de omo frɛ mo bi no mo a mo koye no omo ma mo sen ade na wo metra wa video so anka say me call NDC media encounter no omo ma me 1 Ghana omo ma me 2 Ghana nyansa wo mu na ne de wen some of them, some were senior journalists. But before we look up to them, and you gamble all these people together just because of parochial interest, no Tanasia Kasa go movie, knowing very well said the Okani and draw. No one Kasa the go movie because pa buying us them when you are buying a problem into a binary in media engagement now wa fret media for media for media for near corrupt. Ya dom. Ninyansa na ne dia wo he
bisa no kura nkyerɛ sa
ninyansa na ne dia wo he
bisa no mbisa in fact obi ofie bia ni je sa o dia mabisa nsɛm
wo kan wo trase a NDC for ye ayi jomama ye bi no ofrɛ o koye ubisa question uwie nka oba de tie oba radio so se me koye no NDC for me free no o ma me 2 Ghana o dia wanka ye invite wa ko de ma wan so ba what na say conjecture e kan obi de
ko to de na bodwe
na ni ja
nya botro nya botro
na me wo na me wa for me say eh yes when you 20,000 na say ma go fata you
when you down be she yes so when you be she yes na mbra nya ye bedi